young people on our reserve communities, particularly the more remote communities, aren't simply experiencing isolation or deprivations, but they're experiencing those in the context of the normative adolescent identity crisis, which is compounded by the fact that many of our communities, due to the historical treatment of Indigenous peoples, are themselves experiencing or in the throes of coming through identity crises. The ancestors of Euro-Canadians came along and said, for you to be proper people, if in fact you can be, you need to look like, act like, talk like, walk like, think like us, and do things the way that we do them. And so we'll tell you how to behave to be acceptable. I think that's an attitude that has to be completely set aside by Euro-Canadian and other Canadian peoples. Within the community, I think community members are often doing their level best to provide for young people, given budgets that they have to work with, given other kinds of resources they have to work with, including, as you will have discovered listening to the news about Loche and their response, including a lack of social services, psychiatric services, mental health services, general health services. The sense of empowerment must be ultimately experienced from within themselves, not as an external gift or offering. So the community, and I certainly heard it in the voices of the adults and elders and many of the young people that I've listened to from Loche and other communities, the desire for a sense of health and well-being that is founded on their cultural ideologies, their cultural understandings, their ways of life, the normative standards by which they would like to build their communities. And I think those need to be not just simply supported, but celebrated. They would have a deep respect for Jesus, for example. They would have a deep respect for the teachings of the Bible, but they would turn towards perhaps a different experience or feeling when you talked about Christianity or the church, and there'd be a, perhaps if not a bristling, a deep sense in which the church and Christianity have betrayed them and not lived up to the teachings of Jesus. So we believe that there is a singular creator, that we are created beings, and that the creator expresses diversity through cultures and languages and people groups and so forth, and that's something that could and should be celebrated. I think that's something the church can do, is to help their congregations and peoples recognize cultural diversity and celebrate cultural diversity. First Peoples' desire to engage in worship of their Creator and in an act of prayer toward the one who's made them and toward the Creator's Son, Jesus, is quite evident. Anytime you see tragedy in our communities, you'll see the community gathering together in places of worship, in whether that be in the formal building, the church, or whether that be in a community hall or in some other venue, including for many, for example, in traditional places of gathering. They gather together to seek comfort, to pray, and to ask for mercy, to ask for help. Understand that reconciliation is not an event. That though the Truth and Reconciliation Commission held many events so that stories could be told and people could come together and listen and share and learn from one another, reconciliation is really not an event. It is a journey, and the Christian community in Canada, irrespective of the tradition of the church from which they come, needs to be prepared for a lengthy journey.